Does Italian cuisine exist? It exists if we think of Italy as it is today. If we look at the past, then we realize that things are a little more complicated. In fact, the 20 regions that form Italy can be considered a patchwork of nation states with their own history, their specific traditions and experiences. Ask most Italian Americans about their Italian heritage, and you won't have to dig too deep to discover the region from which they are originally from. Italians, before to be Italians, are Sicilian, Napolitanians, Toscans, and so on. And the same thing we can say about the Italian food. Italian food actually doesn't exist. Italian cooking is an expression rarely used by Italians because the cooking of Italy is really the cooking of its regions that have been separated under different rulers and usually hostile to each other at least until 1861 when Italy became a nation. For ages, each and every region developed its own cultural tradition and, of course, its own distinctive approaches to food based on its unique situation. Still today, the Italian regions, towns, and cities show their unique features that appear in the physical aspect of the people, in their temperament, in their spoken language, as well as in their cooking. Italian cuisine is distinctly regional. When you first visit Italy, you might find it surprising that many familiar dishes won't always be found in all parts of the peninsula. Even within a region, you will find a wide variation of the same classic dishes, reflecting not only the personality of the cook but the specific nuances of each town. Traveling across Italy, for example, you will never eat the same spaghetti, even if you had to eat them every day. Ingredients, techniques in food preparation differ from town to town, from region to region. Each dish has a local origin, and a lot of them continue to be consumed locally, even if nowadays the majority of dishes that were once regional have spread throughout the country and even abroad. Think about pizza. Evolved from similar flatbread dishes in Naples in the 18th or early 19th century, is now the most international food. I could give you thousands of examples. What about ravioli, tortellini, or polenta? All dishes with a clear local origin and now spread around the globe. By the way, in Italy, the regional and local flavor persists. Not all the pizzas, ravioli, tortellini, and so on are the same. Each place has its own ingredients, its own technique to prepare them. The cooking of Genoa is so distant from that of Naples, Ancona, Lecce, or Palermo, although they are all Italian cities specializing in seafood. And the same we can say for inner cities like Bologna and Florence, only 60 miles apart, and even for Bologna and of other cities included in the same region. Emilia-Romagna, such Parma or Modena, just a few miles to the north. Many of the differences can be attributed, as we have discussed in the previous lecture, to the long history of foreign colonization and domination of the Italian peninsula, other to the specific physical configuration of Italy. Just think that geographically speaking, Italy extends from the Mont Blanc Massif, the highest mountain in the Alps and the highest in Europe, to the island of Lampedusa, that is a few kilometers from the African coast. How can people living in such distant and different places produce similar cooking experiences? So it isn't only from the long foreign domination that cooking in Italy has taken its many forms. Even more significant has been the physical elements of the Italian landscape. Italy is shaped like a full-length boot surrounded by the Mediterranean Sea. It is fastening to the rest of Europe by an interrupted chain of mountains, the Alps. At the base of the Alps spreads Italy's only extensive plain, the Po Valley, approximately 400 miles from Piedmont to the Adriatic coast. This is the dairy zone where the cooking fat is butter and rice or corn mash are the staples. Up to the 60s and 70s, when thousands of workers from the south came north to find jobs in Turin and Milan, spaghetti and dry pasta in general were almost unknown here in this area. The Po Valley gives out just before touching the Mediterranean shores, where it reaches the foothills of another mountain chain, the Apennines. This mountain chain extends from north to south from the whole length of the country, including part of Sicily. The variety of landscape, the climate differences from one area to another create cultures and cooking style dissimilar in character. At the end of the Po Valley lies maybe the richest gastronomic region in Italy, Emilia-Romagna. The Emilian area is an extraordinary fertile land enriched by alluvial deposits. The region leads all Italy in the production of wheat, which perhaps explains why here it is almost impossible to sit down to a meal that doesn't include a dish of homemade pasta. This is the area of Italy's best hams and also some of its best dairy products, among which are prosciutto di Parma and the most celebrated Italian cheese, the Parmigiano Reggiano. From Tuscany down, the Apennines and their foothills march spread nearly from coast to coast, so the rest of Italy is almost entirely mountainous, without plain areas. As a result of it, two major changes take place in cooking. First, as it is cheaper and simpler on the hillside to cultivate olive trees than to raise dairy cows, olive oil replaces butter as the dominant cooking fat. Second, as we get farther away from the rich wheat field of Emilia-Romagna, soft homemade egg and flour pasta gave way to more economical, mass-produced, eggless hard macaroni, the staple of the South. The dry pasta. From Naples south, the climate becomes considerably warmer, and in some part of the southern Italy, temperatures can be the same as North Africa. Obviously, when the landscape and climate change, also the food changes. Not only different dishes, but also different versions of the same Italian products are part of the Southern culinary tradition. The rich variety of geographical environments, together with the long and complicated political history of the peninsula, can for sure help to explain the richness of Italian gastronomy.